EntrepreNINES. I'm John Wist.
And I'm Bonni Mace. We're two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time. And this podcast is a space where we are inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build businesses with soul. This is episode 31.
Yeah, and we are going to build on the exciting announcement we made at the end of our last episode, and talk more about Work Like a Nine. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm just going to say this real quick. We have children upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Watching a movie.
They're adorable.
They're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
You might hear them
giggle
because they're watching the Lego movie. So,
yeah.
You know.
Who doesn't giggle at that movie?
Exactly. So just a heads up if
Mm-hmm.
you hear it. But yeah, we want to talk more about Work Like a Nine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to just talk about why Work Like a Nine?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? Because it's a good question. It's a good question that gives hopefully you some background and maybe some more reasons to understand
why we want you to come.
The value of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bonni.
John.
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? We are doing this because being an entrepreneur is hard.
Yes, that's probably number one.
And I think especially when you're like first getting started too, like this isn't limited to people who are just getting started, but I think there is like this extra value to like getting people at different stages of the business building game together. And then, you know, John and I are still in our toddling phase as businesses. Yeah. So we're just recognizing this, you know, entrepreneurship is hard. And part of the hard is how no one really feels like they understand how hard it is until you run into somebody else who's also building their own business and you're like, oh, I'm not crazy. That's great. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think Bonni and I have talked a little bit about this beforehand, but like this coaching group I'm in right now has just like opened my eyes more. And probably allowed me to be kinder to myself in some ways because I'm encountering more people who are running into like the same issues that I'm having. And so I do feel like that is helpful in just giving you some peace of mind. And so like if one of the things you can walk away from Work Like a Nine with is some peace, that we are peacemakers. So, you know, if you can walk away with some peace of mind that, you know, like Bonni said, you're not crazy or that like people are experiencing similar things. It's not like a rarity or off the wall or anything like that. Like, I think that is a good thing to have in your back pocket. Yeah. So I think that's pretty high on the list is just, this is hard and you need other people to do hard things. You sometimes need other people to be there with you.
It's true. I think a big American myth is like the whole pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Like do you know the origin of that saying? It was like sarcasm and a joke. And now we've like taken it on like a truth of culture. It's a real thing that you can actually do. You can't. Like that's why it came up. It's like an ironic thing. Right. Anyway. Yeah. That's not true. And I think there is this like portion of hustle culture and everything that's like, if you don't build this on your own and get yourself in like Forbes or the 40 under 40 or whatever, then you're not doing it right. And when in actuality, we're like hardwired in our very DNA to need other people.
To need the community to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Which is one of the other reasons why we're doing it, which is true. Community.
Yeah. It's very important.
Yeah. So I think, you know, Bonni and I come from a background where we not only worked together, but we worked in an environment that was in a lot of ways like dependent on community, in the sense that like when you work in ministry or nonprofit worlds, you are a lot of times dependent on volunteers. You're dependent on creating communities. And actually, this is something that you and I have talked about before. Like, you're really good at creating community. Like, you created an entire community at our old job. And like, that's something that we both have talked about. Like, we don't have that anymore because we're doing our own thing now. And that's really difficult when you don't have those people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, we're just hardwired for it.
Yeah.
First of all. And two, I think there's like a big part of this, at least for me so far, that these conversations and this podcast has been John and I's little way of like refusing to let go of community.
Yeah.
Even if it's just John and I.
Right.
And one of the biggest benefits for me is like, oh, you're freaking out about that too. Great. I thought that was just me.
Right.
I thought this was my unique problem. And I was freaking out by myself. But now you're saying the same thing. And I'm realizing like, oh, okay, I can be nicer to myself. I can be kinder because this is a shared human struggle, not me, Bonni, is bad at this.
Right. Or just even like, I would say, bouncing things off of people. Even in not as much of like this feels bad or this feels like a problem or this feels like a struggle, but more of even just like this is an idea I have.
Creative brainstorming.
Right.
Yeah.
But it feels hairy and scary and big. And I don't want to do it because I'm not getting any feedback because no one's there to give me feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting thing too about trying to like build a business is like, yes, you're trying to sell something. So then like the people you're trying to sell to, you want them to give you feedback.
Yeah.
But then they're like, if I talk to you, you're going to want me to buy something.
Right.
So people are more quiet than even normally, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So just having that group of people to say like, I've been thinking about X, but I'm not sure like it's a good idea or if it's going to work or like what other people would think about it. And just having someone to say, either to say like, well, let's talk more about it or let's try it or, giving you some sort of encouragement. Like there's not that foundation. And so I think that is something that we hope for this group is like, there's some encouragement. There's some, there's something that can help you push over that line if you need it.
Yep. Here's another one.
Yeah.
You and I are both good at this. Glossing over our own wins.
Yeah.
There have been so many times. I think both of us have done this, but obviously I'll remember John's better.
Nice.
Where he shows up and he's like, yeah, I was just working on this. Like when you went up in the lift, you were like, oh yeah, here's a picture of me like 100 feet in the air for this company. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? When did you get this contract? That's awesome.
Right, yeah.
Because this is like shortly after you're like, I'm going to have nothing. Like literally probably days after that one conversation. And then here you are for like this, great company. Yeah. You can have the time of your life in the sky.
Yeah.
And so being able to say like, John, you just got to go 100 feet in the air in a crane.
For your job.
And they're paying you to do it. That's awesome. Way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is really, really important. And I think it's something that, and I don't know, maybe we can go on an enneagram tangent for a second if you want, but like,
oh, sure. I like this.
I don't know if like this is specific to, I'm sure there's other numbers, but I think as nines, like, I don't know. There's something about like trying to hold it all, like in what you consider your grasp or your hands at one time, like trying to hold it all in balance. I guess like to say like I have this job and that's great, but I can look a month down the road and see gaps and holes, and yet I want to be excited about this and I want to give them everything I've got. And yet I've got this, and this and this and that and the other thing. And so I think like there's a tendency to minimize the wins or the exciting things that happen because sometimes you feel like you have a full picture. Yeah. And your full picture says, this is great in the moment, but
but there's these other things.
But anything, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's mostly human. I feel like everybody that I've met is either really good at holding like their wins and the positive stuff, or they're really good at holding like what they still need to do.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge of humanness.
Yeah.
I can feel Henry now and rising up in me, John.
Oh, I just read some this morning, so give it to me. Give it to me.
Like holding both is hard because they feel conflicting, and we're often told that success looks one kind of way.
Right.
Or that, if you're feeling a mixture of feelings, then something is wrong and you need a therapist, but really you're just human.
Right.
And so you need a little bit of both, but it is easier to get fixated. Like one of them feel bigger. And so I think that's where mindfulness practices and reflection, and now Work Like a Nine. Sorry, I just smacked my book. You guys all heard it. Work Like a Nine can help with that because it is human to either fixate on one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it just depends on your season sometimes too. When things are early on and still getting started and you have the vision of everything it could be, it's easy to see like what you don't have.
Yeah.
But then once things are rolling, it might be easier to gloss over all the things that, you still need to do because you're like, this is working.
Right. Right.
So, but there's always something to improve. So it's that balance of gratitude and grit, I guess.
Ooh.
That's pretty good, right?
Ooh.
Do we need a sticker?
Yeah, we do need it. That's good stuff.
Sometimes I say good words. But yeah, it's balancing those two things together.
That right now, so
he's texting me that right now. We'll give everybody a sticker. I do think that is a big part of it. And having an outside voice to say, you're missing this win right now. Like you've glossed over this. This is worth celebrating. Yeah. And I think I tend to go towards more of the celebrating because I've been in cultures where we tend to gloss over celebrating and where there's always more to be done. Yeah. There's always more.
Yeah. Which I would say has been a big growth thing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've gotten really good at it.
Oh, thanks. I try.
Yeah.
But I do still have to balance okay, now there's the vision ahead that's worth pursuing. Right, like I can feel contentment and move. There's the giggles, guys. The giggles. It's so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So some celebration. So we've got just being an entrepreneur, community, celebration.
Oh, here's the last community thing that I wrote down.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Inside jokes.
Nice.
I kind of miss those sometimes. There's like just dumb things that happen in offices and when we're working together. And you kind of miss inside jokes every once in a while. So now we have a podcast where John and I make inside jokes, and I'm curious if you guys ever will bring them up in Work Like a Nine. That will be the true tale, the true sign.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my last community one.
Okay.
Entrepreneuring is hard. Community is very important. The last thing for me is just the idea that group learning or like personal development, a lot of times when you work for an organization that's established, that comes along. Yeah. You don't have to think about it. It happens for you. You get to stumble upon it and, then you grow and benefit from that. Yeah. And you benefit from hearing other people's perspective of the same thing you're learning. Yeah. When you get to do that stuff too. And then you venture off on your own business. And even if you're at the point where you have employees, that part is still your job. Yeah. And so usually it's going to be hard to reach for something that you're still trying to learn yourself as the leader for your team. That's just human. Yeah. So having another, like an outside resource where you can go and be the learner instead of the leader is, I think, beneficial.
I also think this isn't something that we had talked about beforehand, but like on that same line, like online courses and things like that are really popular. And, you can go and you can learn all you want, right? Like you can add to your toolbox technically. But I think there is something about learning from a group of people, like having that dynamic where it's live and you're together and you're bouncing different things off of each other based off of your own experiences. Like there's something different about that. And I think when it comes to technical skills and things like that, sure, like there's plenty
You're
of
gonna learn
resources
it.
for that.
Yeah.
But for so-called maybe soft skills or like things that aren't as easily defined, as easy to just, pop on a online course for an hour
Right.
to soak it in. Like, I think that's where a group like this really has benefit, because it gives you a wide variety of experiences to draw from. And then you can make the decision based off of what you're hearing of kind of what the right next step is. And it could be a combination of a lot of things that you've heard. It could be, it could be kind of a cautionary tale of like what to avoid. Like there could be a lot that comes from that, you don't always get even from like Facebook groups, right? Like even that kind of a forum isn't as, I don't think, successful in helping you.
So much reading between the lines that can happen.
Yeah, for real. And it's in a forum that people have learned that they can say anything without a whole lot of retribution or pushback or editing or anything like that. Whereas this is like, we're communicating face to face, and that brings a level of like humility and levity and like needing to communicate well, to be honest. Like you have to be a decent communicator.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to, look somebody else in the face and say what you would like to say and understand that they're human.
Yep.
Right? Like you can't blow past that. And so I think that that's a really important level of engagement that we're trying to bring, is like, it's just a different thing to sit with people in the same room.
I read something a couple weeks ago about soft skills and how like there are now soft skills trainers and coaches, and there's like varying degrees of agreement on how effective those things are.
Yeah.
They put them out there and people are then aware of them, but but what is being discovered is that really you don't improve your soft skills unless you're practicing them.
Yeah, sure.
So you can get awareness, you can do the online course for soft skills, you can listen to a presentation, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes down to it, getting in front of people and practicing is where you build that sort of skill set in the first place. So doing a group like this gives opportunity to respectfully push back, because that is something that is almost impossible on Facebook. Learning how to respectfully push back, or even doing your best to respectfully push back, and then someone reads what they want to read into it.
Right.
So being able to learn something and then even say, you know what, I actually kind of disagree with that. That's terrible. And then be able to hear the feedback on people who do agree or don't agree, and still see each other as human. Is important. 9 super skill a little bit, but maybe it's good for you to be reminded of that and to practice it with some bravery and to be the person who says, actually, I think I disagree with that. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Because we're all different, like even as 9s, we are all different. So something I wanted to ask. And I didn't prep you for this.
Oh, no.
But something I want to ask, because I think it's important to the why, is like, number one, why do you need this?
Me?
Yeah, personally. And what do you feel like, this is a what question, but what do you feel like you can bring to the table that could answer someone else's why?
Why do I need this? I need this primarily for the reminder that I am not doing this wrong. And to rebuild community a bit will be fun. And I think that I see a lot of you out there on the internet, and I see what you're doing, and I see the businesses you're building. And I'm like, these look like great people. Yeah. And I know there are people out there who I would get along with. Yeah. And so I just want to know you, and I want to hear what you're up to and what you're encouraged by and what you're inspired by, what challenges you're facing, what you're overcoming. I just like hearing that stuff personally. It gives me a lot of inspiration. Yeah. Okay. And then you said what
can you bring to the table? What do you think you can bring to the table that will like satisfy or fulfill someone else's why?
Yeah. I mean, obviously enneagram insight is going to be a thing. Yeah. For sure. And I think I have honed the skill of becoming very aware of when shame is creeping into your life and holding you back. And so being able to say, hang on, the words I'm hearing you say are not based in truth and they're not who you are. And I'm curious about this. Like, where is this coming from? And here's what I see. Why is it different from what you see? So being able to root those things out, I think will be good. And then, celebrating, like hearing the wins and then celebrating them. And then very technically, we will not eat more of your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can run a meeting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And make sure everybody feels like they have contributed or gained something from it. Like we'll keep pace. And that's one of my administrative superpowers is moving along a meeting, but also making sure it doesn't feel, and John can tell me if I'm full of it because he's been to a lot of these meetings in his life, but also making sure it feels like, you were able to gain something from it and contribute.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'll bring. What about you?
So I think that, this conversation about doing this didn't start that long ago. Yeah. Really. And I think I had already started my coaching group at that point.
Or we're about to. You were about to.
And so I was already excited about that. And then you were like, hey, like, what if we do this kind of thing? And it didn't take me long in the coaching group to understand like the value that I was getting from that group. And it wasn't just business based, but it's just like being with other people. And so some of my why is like, I want not just one, it's very video centric group, right?
Your group, yeah.
And so like, I don't want just one group to be kind of influencing me in some ways. Like I want to have some varied like backgrounds and perspectives to help me kind of understand what business can look like and be and things like that. And so I think having more than one place to go like this that can have people in it that can be encouraging, that can be walking alongside you. Like a lot of that is, and it's weird. I feel like both of us would consider ourselves introverts, and not that this means that we're not, but I feel like there's a certain part of me that needs this like exterior exposure, a little more extroverted, like push sometimes to really understand, just how I can do this long term. Like I don't, I think we all have moments in entrepreneurship where we're like, I could just go get a job right now and I would be making plenty of money and it would be so much easier. And honestly, like there's the temptation, but then you start looking and you're like, I can't do this. And like, that's kind of how I feel like, like this is, I want to do this long term, but I need a way to sustain that. And some of that is being in community with other people. I can't do it by myself all the time.
I like what you're saying about needing something outside of your specialty too, because when you put a bunch of people who nerd out on the same stuff together, then you only talk about that stuff.
Right.
And not because it's just because like, these are your people, you can talk about this nerdy stuff together, but having a group that has diverse, like niche interests means that we can talk about the human side.
Yep. And it's interesting. Like I just thought this, like one of our group calls got canceled in the past couple weeks. And I sent a message. We have a WhatsApp group, and I sent a message and it was like, I'm not going to lie. Like, this was the day after we were supposed to have the call. I was like, I'm not going to lie. Like, this week's been harder. And I think it's because we didn't have, like, this time has helped focus me for the week. It's given me encouragement and motivation to do new things and try new things. And like, honestly, I'm struggling this week. And like, it's like, there's this group shaped hole in my heart right now.
Dear.
And like, I think I want to be part of multiple groups like that, where like they are encouraging, they give me motivation, they give me kind of the urge to push myself in some new ways. And so I think for me, that's a lot of the why here. What am I bringing to the table? Well, if you want to know anything about video, I'm more than happy to help with that. No, I would say like, a lot of my background is in communicating in a conversational and concise way. That's just how I was taught. And so Bonni will tell you, like, I've edited many of a piece of hers to try to
It's true.
bring it down a little bit. And
I am wordy.
And so, I think that is something that I can do and have done a lot of in the past. But I also just, like, part of the reason that I love video and that I love it as a medium is you have to have a vision of the end product before you even start. And so I think, seeing something through from, concept to, kind of visualization of it to actually physically doing it to completion, like, that's something I really like. And I learned to like that when I was in news too, because you had to look at the like a newscast as a whole. You had to look at it as a story as a whole, and you couldn't start until you figured out what you wanted and where you wanted to go. And so, like, I don't know if I'd call it a superpower, but I feel like it's definitely something that I enjoy, is kind of that process. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's what our personally superpowers are going to be that we bring. And our whys, and we hope you come along. We're going to start, I forgot to look at the date again.
September 18th.
We're going to start on September 18th. It's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the internets.
On the internet.
And we are going to have a website, EntrepreNINES.com.
Yeah.
And so you can go there and sign up. Are we going to announce the price right now?
Sure.
We didn't talk about this ahead of time.
And we can. So we're going to do a couple episodes around this. Why don't we'll do a little bit more technical details
next time
in the next one.
Okay, you're going to have to hold on to your seatbelts.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. But
It's fine.
Let's just put all the technical details in one place.
In one place. Go to EntrepreNINES.com. You'll see it. You'll get a sneak peek before we talk about it with our mouths. And it will be great. And we want to see you there. It's going to be a monthly group, and we're going to meet for about an hour. And our format we're going to get into next time.
Yeah.
So we want you to listen to that so you can decide more if you'd like to be a part.
Yeah.
But either way, when you sign up on EntrepreNINES.com, you're not committed forever. You're just letting us know that you like the sign up link when it comes out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good. Yeah.
All the info in the show notes.
Cool. We're on the internet. I usually say that.
I do say that. Me and John, our companies, we're on the internet. You can find those in the show notes too. Yeah. Our socials and our personal websites.
Yep. And leave us a rating and review so other people can find us. And feel free to share. This is I'll say this is a big thing we're trying.
Yeah.
This is not little for us, and so I feel like if you feel like somebody would find value in it, I don't know. So other than that, we will have lots more details for you about all of the interworkings.
Yeah.
What this will look like in the next one. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.